Mike Tracy, the superintendent of schools here. Welcome. And we are not going to do a song and dance for you. It's not. Maybe I will.
Please don't.
That was supposed to be a joke. Nobody's laughing. So there that goes. If you have an intention to speak tonight, we have probably some folks that would like to publicly speak. We do need to have that done orderly so that we can get home tonight and also respect what it is you have to say. I'd like you to just put down who you are if you'd like to speak and what town you live in, so we know that you're in RSU 74, and then I'll collect that in just a moment. Okay, so I'll just pass this around if you'd like to speak tonight. Start that right around. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding.
And we'll get started soon, as soon as I can get that.
Welcome to the regular meeting of RSU 74 Board of Directors, November 6th. Scheduled start time was 6:10 here at Caribbean High School. This is the agenda. Tonight, adjustment to the agenda. Number one, we add one agenda to the board, and it will be agenda item number 10A. And that is to see if the board will enter executive session for MRS Title I, Chapter 13, Subchapter 1, Paragraph 405-6A, discussion or consideration of the employment evaluation, superintendent evaluation. Everybody have that down? We want to read it. Everybody good? Okay, that is agenda item 10A. Before we get started, the laws have changed on public participation comment period of the school board. It's Title 20A, MRSRA, paragraph 1001, subparagraph 20. School board meeting, public comment period. The school board shall provide the opportunity for the public to comment on school and educational matters at a school board meeting. Nothing in this section restricts the school board from establishing reasonable standards for the public comment period, including time limits and conduct standards. For purposes of this subsection, the school board meeting means a full meeting of the school board and does not include meetings of the subcommittee. Based upon that, our current policy still says 30 minutes in length and to the agenda items. As soon as the policy gets rewritten, that will change. Agenda item number 2 is see if the board will approve the minutes of the regular board meeting of October 2, 2019. Do I have that motion? Troy? That's supported. Grace. Thank you. Questions, comments, or discussion? Any objection, unanimous consent to approve? Motion carries. Agenda item number 3, presentations. We have no presentations for tonight. Agenda item number 4, reports. Reports are mailed to board members and are available online at www.carabec.org. Agenda item 4A, superintendent's report. Mr. Tracy.
Good evening, folks. I put my Mr. Tracy minute in the school board packet. I've got a couple things I just want to highlight that may or may not be in there. One is we are losing an employee who currently does our transportation coordination in our transportation department, and we are looking effective January 1st to be stipending that position, stipending out that position. I'm looking to post that position probably later this week. I wanted you to have knowledge of that. We do still maintain several vacancies in the district. We have an elementary music position that remains unfilled, and we have currently one special ed teacher position remains unfilled. And good news and some good stuff that came out of the MSMA conference that I attended with some school board members and myself 2 weeks ago in Augusta. Excuse me. There were sort of 3 highlights things that I went to that I wanted to share. One was on legislative updates. It appears right now in the short session. There are a few things affecting education, but nothing that has a fiduciary or a funding concern attached to it that I'm concerned about as of yet. There's still legislation. There's legislation on immunizations, and there's legislation on on universal pre-K, and we can just kind of have my eyes on those at this time. Two other sessions that I attended were one on specifically students in poverty and dealing with cases and trauma, and we have been working on that as a school district. I had an interesting and a wonderful time yesterday afternoon with about 35 faculty and staff from across our district yesterday as we did a professional development after school on ACEs, or adverse childhood experiences. And I'm really eager to see the amount of staff and folk that are interested in learning about that, sort of in the game with me, and that's exciting. So that's good stuff that we're working on together as a district. And lastly, and I think it's going extremely well, I'm going to toot this horn, and that's our district Facebook page. So I really am pleased, and I make no mistake, this is not a hidden agenda. I am marketing the good stuff in this district. I have every intention to do that. So that is what I'm working on, and I'm proud to be here at Carrabeck, and I'm proud to show off what we're doing. And there's a lot, as you can see in the reports, and probably just glimpses of things on Facebook, are just a minuscule fraction of all the good things going on here. So that is my report.
Thank you, Mr. Tracy. Questions from anybody? Okay. Item 4A1, appointments. They're listed as the appointments. There are 9 listed. Anybody have any questions on any of those 9 listed?
The CCS boys basketball coach, is that 7th and 8th grade? Because I assume we're having 2 teams. Where's Julie?
Ms. Richard?
Sorry. I heard the question. Your question was, is 7th, 8th grade? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, is that coach for 7th and 8th grade teams if we're going to have 2?
What we're looking at right now is one team, a blend of 7th and 8th grade boys, and a similar circumstance with girls. So one team with 7th and 8th grade girls. Thinking that we have a 20-game schedule, of which the Pinecone tournament, our Pinecone League, is targeted for younger players, and then the Central Maine League is targeted as an opportunity for 12 games in the Central Maine League for the more skilled basketball players. So throughout the season, that's how we intend to address 7th and 8th grade needs.
Okay, and 6th grade will not be playing middle school
We're urging
basketball?
the 6th grade, it's a large group of young players, and we're trying to urge them to take advantage of the recreational programs available in the towns.
How many, what are our numbers?
Look at my notes, but we're in the region of, I have to look at my notes, I can't remember exactly. I know that the 6th grade is the largest group.
7th and 8th, though, for that one team.
It's in the region, I don't know, I can't remember, I'll look at my notes, to be honest with you. I don't know. It's close to 20 for boys, it's less so for girls.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you. In item 4A2, resignation, we have none. In item 4A3, nomination, we have none. In item 4B, administrators. We'll have reports from the outdoors. Mr. Richards, do you have anything to add?
I have a couple of things to add. On October 29th, the one-act plays for Ms. Steele, who was performing that person. I had a great evening. It was very entertaining. She set the bar really high. I hope she can live up to that standard for all the other things coming. We just got strips in the mail today for Wizard of Oz for springtime.
That's it. Thank you very much. Charlie.
I just just like to draw your attention to this document right here. I handed out, it's just some pictures. It's something that we launched this year that we're very proud of at CCS. It's called Cobra Care. It is community service. It is posted up on our Facebook. Thus far, we've been able to service 6 different community members in terms of stacking wood and raking. And these are either veterans or disabled folks or senior citizens in our community. There's a form online, not even a form, there's a number online on Facebook, and I'll pass that out later as well, to nominate folks. So if you have got an elderly relative, or you know someone, or if you're the VFW of the region and you know someone that's a veteran that could use some help getting these rates. And then also I'd like to highlight Campbell's. Man, they were great to us, and so was Rennie's. They donated a lot of shovels because snow's coming up. So our hope is that as we move forward, we'll be able to do a lot of shoveling too, and snow removal. The kids love it. It doesn't take much away from the academics, and the whole community service piece has been tremendous. I'd like to thank Lori Egan and the transportation department for helping grab a bus in between and getting them to and from. So these are just some pictures to see the kids. So far, we've been over 60.
Thank you. Ms. Butler?
It's been a very busy fall, but going into an even busier season with the holiday season coming up. And I'll just highlight, which I did last year, that we have a lot of need in our community, a lot of poverty, a lot of families that need a lot of support. And our communities are wonderful in coming forward with that support for our families. I want to thank Mr. Demchak and the American Legion because they always come forward and purchase coats and boots for needy children. Our nurse, Laurie Hanson-Hiscock, has connections in Skowhegan to get Christmas gifts for families that are in need. We have people in the community who knit hats and mittens for kids and donate them to our schools. So there's all kinds of, we have food cupboards and a food bank. We have Thanksgiving food drives in both of my schools. So it's the season of giving, and a lot of people in our community really give to our families, and we really appreciate that. If you have a chance to give to someone in our community this holiday season, that would be great.
Thank you. Paul?
Nothing here to add.
Ms. Egan?
We're trying to set up a bus driving class here at SAD 74. So if any are interested, sign up. In my office, you can give me a call. That should be starting hopefully right off. Just talked to Ed Nichols today on the phone. Get up for it, so.
Thank you. Ms. Graham?
I go.
Thank you. Ms. Richards?
Just a couple of items that might be of interest. We were able to have a playoff game, girls soccer made the tournament, and we ended up by a fluke, ended up hosting quarterfinal round of the tournament. It was really wonderful. I worked with the maintenance people who were fabulous, helped us set up the field, so outstanding game and tournament-like atmosphere. I want to mention that Brittany Fairfield General Hospital, a fellow named Mike Holt was in charge of athletic trainers in the area, and so we were able to work with him, and he helped us provide a trainer for that event, of which he worked with his legal staff for about half a day and charged us $1 to have that individual come and be an athletic trainer for our home event. You like to provide something of safety as much as you can when you know it's going to be a competitive environment, and want to do the best for our young people. So we're so appreciative of Bennington Fairview General Hospital for helping us get that service here, and they worked hard to make that happen. It's really a wonderful feeling. It feels like the community is behind you, pushing you forward, so it's really quite wonderful. I want to mention that Skylar Chipman received the all-conference bid to be in the senior tournament. That is the post game for seniors following the season. We also have 2 students that are going to the University of Maine for an athletic trainers free conference. They're going up to Orono, working with 7 trainers that they have up there on November 16, Saturday, from 9 to 4 o'clock, and then have a chance to go to the football game following that day. Again, it's all free. It's an invitation to not only learn some athletic training, but also maybe it's a career opportunity. So the young people that signed up to attend, Ricky Gordon and Scott Mason. I've got one more person that's considering it, but I wanted you to know that that was happening. So I'm excited about that. our positions for the upcoming basketball season. Right now, we're only missing a unified basketball coach, so we're still looking for that. Otherwise, we're still looking for some coaches during the spring season, 2 assistant track, softball, and boys tennis. So we're still working on those vacancies, and we're pleased to have that. We've got basketball filled. And we're adding, wrestling coach has also been filled, so we're pleased with all that. So, good news. It's exciting time to be in athletics. Thanks, folks.
Thank you. Anything to add to that, Mr. Official?
Nothing to add.
Thank you very much. Then item number 4C, committees. We had 4 subcommittees lead the board. We also all attended the conference, and we'll get a quick brief on some of the reports that were attended at the conference. The Public Collaboration Subcommittee met on October 7th.
Thank you. We met, and a lot of it's going to be discussed tonight. We went over the results of the survey that were sent out, and we made a motion to bring it to the board, and it was approved to have a Careback-only baseball team, and that's about the brunt of that one.
Okay.
Thank you.
Inspection Committee.
Mr. Tracy, how would that, do you want me to get to you?
You want me to team that one up?
If you would like to, yeah, please.
So, one of the things, and I don't think it's any surprise to anybody in this room or who interacted in the district over the last few years, that we've been working on balancing and maintaining or creating a more sustainable budget in the district. We've explored things from sharing services, sharing programs, to all the way to looking at school closures. The school committee has begun asking me to review in subcommittee these different possibilities. And frankly, the restructure committee, the last board meeting, we came to consensus, the board came to consensus with regard to exploring, costing out, if you would, the operational cost, to looking at what it would be to close either Solon or Garrett Skang or both. So it took me quite a while to put some things together, and I just simply looked at last year's operational costs and facilities and operations costs. And in short, the committee simply determined that operationally it didn't make sense to close one or the other school. That there just was not, it would not incur enough savings to do that. It's a process we've needed to go through to honor the public's wishes. I'm out in the public all year long talking about the budget. And so I think the board members prompted that review. So that's where we ended up. The action item that came out of that subcommittee was the need to do a more in-depth third-party exploration of the facilities. So the information I have for the full board on that, I'll just tell you all now, is I've begun to call companies like architects, engineering companies that will come in and do that service for us. And the price range we're in to have the buildings looked at is between $50,000 to $70,000, just to have them do a review to give us a 5-year, what would it cost out to improve our facilities, maintain them, keep them at code. So that's going to be something we have to grapple through to see what is the scope we actually want to look at. Do we want to do this? So I think in shorthand, that was sort of the summary of the subcommittee as far as operational costs in those buildings and whether it made sense to look at closing. They determined there was could possibly be some cost savings if we closed 2 elementary schools. But that didn't seem to be, we don't have the capacity as a district in Careback High School and Careback Community School to be able to do that at this time. So right now, it was determined that it didn't make sense to look at a school closure for either one or the other without having more information. And so the board, ultimately the subcommittee, will have to look at what are our next steps with regard to facilities and maintenance audit. So that will be something we take up in the restructure committee, and that will ultimately, that recommendation will come back to this full board as to whether we pursue a facilities audit and maintenance audit.
Thank you, Mr. Bailey. Madam President.
No, thank you, Mr. Tracy.
When is the next restructure?
November 20th.
November
November 20th.
20th at 5. November 20th at 5.
Can I ask a question?
Please.
So the committee decided it wasn't favorable to close one school, but they're gonna look at maybe closing 2 schools, that's what the audit would be?
The audit would review, the facilities and maintenance audit is simply an audit of all the facilities, systems, structures to see what it is to bring them all up to code and have a, no, it wouldn't be to close them, it would be to see what the investment cost is to bring them all up to par.
So why would we spend money on that? I'm just-
I can't answer that, Mrs. Murray. All I can do is tell you what the committee came up with me to do.
Based on the cost, you may decide you need to go and spend that on the cost. And that will come up at the next committee meeting. Any other questions on that? Thank you. Policy committee met on October 23rd at 6 p.m. We looked at policy BCA, the board ethics policy, clerical edits, and the designed for approval of the revisions. Not required for the second reading. JJIC student book curriculum was edited, and the same thing with some changes. However, there may be a motion we'll get to the end of this full discussion to refer this again. JFCA student dress code discussion regarding whether it's appropriate policy or not to be approved in this A following a few tweaks and go forward with the full board for this revision. BDPA/Katie, the public participation coordinator, discussion with subject board allow public on the school board agenda, and allow public comment, but adding that the school will not respond or engage with the public directly. Not engage with the public directly during the public speak. Immediately connect with the superintendent for review as appropriate, and you will direct it to go further there. Will be handled in an appropriate fashion. Policy and law has none. I understand that there's a motion considering JJIC.
I just went through the student activities policy, and I thought that grade 6 through 8.
You need to make a motion first.
Oh, I would like to make a motion that this go back to the policy committee for review.
Okay, that's supported. So moved. Okay.
I just don't think that 1 and 2 mirror each other in the same voice. With grade 6 through 8 only talking about co-curricular activities, we're not talking about interscholastic, and 9 through 12 is only talking about interscholastic, nothing about co-curricular activities within the school and grades and such. It just is confusing. I'm not disagreeing with what it said, but I don't know if this was modeled after one that came from the state, or if it was something we came up with. Second that.
Okay. Any other questions, comments, discussion? Condition has been approved, we bring it back to committee. Refer back to committee, so we will not address that when we get to the other act.
Are we going to talk about the academic? Go ahead.
No, please.
We got together on October 23rd and talked about math. The academic committee got together, we mostly spoke about math and try to improve our math programs in the school, and ultimately, we directed Mr. Twitchell to make math, to look at district level mathematics programming as described for grades pre-K through 12, to try to bring all of the kids in the district to the same levels in all of the schools and for best scores.
No, I just want to make a comment that I thought the information that the principals handed out about the, and I was listening from the math coach as well, about those activities that people can do at home regarding math are really wonderful. And I hope that perhaps the Facebook page can also be used to suggest ideas that people don't necessarily have to go to online, but to suggest from time to time a particular activity at different levels. You know, there's so many things people can do to enhance math all the time for kids, and it's nice to see that in as many ways we can agree.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, talk a little bit about the MSBA.
I covered it pretty much in my report, so I'd be happy to ask anybody else's comment.
I went to a couple of different ones. The biggest one I went as the delegate. We had 1, 2, 3, 4 changes to the way MSMA put the business with proposed resolutions. Two of them, one of them talks about the Facebook and employees using Facebook and their own personal Facebook. They asked for us to, board of directors, to look at changing some of the rules, working with the Department of Education and the Department of Legislature, to try to come up with some type of laws regarding school employees using their own personal Facebook to reflect back on the school. Very long and lengthy discussion. At the end, it passed. The resolution they were looking at coming up with some type of rules to employees using their own personal pages reflected back onto the school system. And the other thing that was important was the board-teacher relations. They're an advocate of the interest-based bargaining, and they're going to be pushing that passed again after a lengthy discussion, trying to get everybody to do interest-based negotiations. We have negotiations coming up.
Well, I really appreciate the opportunity to be present and to get involved in this conference. Two of the ones that I went to had to do with libraries, and library uses in school. One thing to note is that what had been the Marble system is now library digital name now. And one of the things that's really wonderful about that is that there are resources across the spectrum from birth to senior citizens of things that are available. And that, I think we can use that in our communities, both for things with children and their parents at home and at school, but also to let the larger community know what is available to them through that, such as being able to get access to newspapers, access to things like genealogy sites that would be there, and a lot of things would be of interest to people who have different interests, whether they do sports or something else. So I think that that's a wonderful resource, and you can use it on whatever device you have, as long as you're in the state of Maine. So your phone, your iPad, your laptop, so I think that's a great thing. The other had to do with the value of, well, you know, the word is librarians, but that's so old-fashioned in terms of how we think about it. And librarians are now trained to be really information-rich sources. And I'm just going to read those. They handed out a study, that's a meta-study about a whole bunch of different research into the value of libraries in the school. And I'm just going to read a couple of these. Good library programs are strongest for the most vulnerable and at-risk learners, including students of color, low-income students, and students with disabilities. And they show increases in their testing scores and their graduation rates. And what we might think about here as we talk about academic coaching is that the direction could be from someone with this kind of a background, because they are able to help teachers on the ground and supply them with other resources and other kinds of materials that would be valuable to them. And it says, librarians are in an advantageous position to coach faculty, and research shows that administrators want librarians to provide professional development to teachers. The statistics on the increases when children encounter a librarian, or whatever you want to call it, might be better to use a different term, a chief information officer, for example, is really very robust and very exciting. So I think that's something we need to look into. And I gave Mr. Pass the article around. I have to go back to copies if anybody wants to read it. And you can also get it from our superintendent.
Thank you. Sue.
I have 4 different ones that I went to that I thought were interesting for our district. Equitable community engagement. Some things that they said that we could do to increase community engagement in our district. Staff being present and seen, which I just want to take a second and acknowledge. I'm sure the other schools do this too, but I'm at CCS every single day with my kids. So Mr. D and the staff at CCS do an amazing job of that every single morning and in the halls, in front of the lunchroom. So I just want to say that props to you for doing that. Hold current topic nights for parents. Possibly offer childcare. So things like vaping, alcohol and drug use in children, pregnancy, STDs, suicide. Hold them in our schools for parents, free to parents, because parents might not know. It's a way to get them into our schools and engaged with things involving their kids. Student member on the board, non-voting, which I think that we've talked about a lot, but there hasn't been any forward movement on that. Parent access to classrooms was something that they said that, if you focused on that, you have more community involvement. The other thing that I went to was a presentation from Senior Corps, AmeriCorps, and Conservation. So there are a lot of programs through them that are free to us. I know that we've done the AmeriCorps, but we have to pay for that, and they match that. Conservation and seniors, you don't have to put forward any money for them to match. They provide it. So Senior Corps would look like 55, it would be 55 and older people that are in our community. And again, they're 70% of our citizens are that age group. They could be, taking a student for a walk that needs to just de-escalate, help in the classroom, reading just for comfort. Those are free resources. Numerous studies show the benefits of elderly with children. They do all of the fingerprinting, all the costs, all the background checks, everything. So that ties into the other one, community engagement and getting them involved. I think it would benefit our citizens and our kids. So I was really interested in that, and I have tons of information on that if anybody wants it after. Conservation Corps is 10 to 12 person teams. They come for 7 to 9 weeks. They need a 6-month turnaround when you submit your request. It is severely underutilized. There's no competition for it. They're field teams that they need a place to stay with a bathroom and someplace they can cook meals. Doesn't have to be anything fancy, I'm told. There's no competition for it. You have to submit the request 6 months prior to when it's needed. Summertime is busier, obviously, because most schools want it when the kids aren't here. But roofing, carpentry, painting, things that we're looking at, facilities and maintenance audit might need to be done in our district. So we should be looking into any any free resources that we can get. So I have a whole bunch of information on that as well. The last one that I'm going to talk about, if I have time, am I allowed, is suicide prevention and awareness. It was called Ending the Silence Beyond the Basics. It was put on by NAMI Maine, and NAMI Maine is the largest in the country. Some of their findings that I thought were interesting that I just wanted to touch base on was, this is kind of a no-brainer, but direct correlation between the introduction of smartphones, which just obviously enable immediate social media access and faster chatting. So there's a direct correlation between that and increased suicide rates. And they suggest doing a stricter job of, especially high school and middle school students, completely shutting their phones down during school. The push on academics, more stress without necessarily giving our students more coping mechanisms to filter through the stress, or how to prioritize their sense of perfectionism. So ideas for possible solutions to intercept children before attempts are made or self-harm. There was an interesting idea that they said each building during a public development could do is take the child's student ID pictures, so the school picture, put them up around the cafeteria or the gym, and then have all your staff, your bus drivers, your custodians that are in that building, your lunch ladies that are in that building, go to each picture and put their initial on each picture, so big enough pictures. And then at the end of that, and so the reason that they would put their initials on a student's picture is if they have a positive relationship with that student that they speak to regularly. At the end of that, you would see if there was any student who didn't have any initials of any staff person in our building on them, and they would be, that's how you would know the risk level of those students. So I thought that was really interesting. And to give the children peers resources and education on what to do if they suspect that another is possible self-harm, because 77% of the time it's not an adult who has seen or heard warning signs of self-harm. It's almost always the kids. So they just said, try and do a better job of giving the kids resources on what to do if they think that one of their friends is capable of that or thinking about it. And then I have a handout on charter schools, if anybody's interested, public charter schools and how that can tie into a district. So I have handouts on that too, if anybody wants them.
Judy?
I attended Math Pathways, which was telling us that community colleges and the university system in Maine is moving away from the AccuPlacer, which had been used to place students in their math classes at the college level. They're moving away from it because they're finding that kids that are placed in remedial classes where they don't get credit, that's becoming a barrier for them completing their degrees. So now they've moved to math gateway courses that are now aligned to their major by relevancy. So some majors are, instead of all kids taking college algebra, now it's some majors are quantitative analysis, other majors are statistics, another major would be technical math. So it now makes sense that what they're required to take in college actually applies to their major. And so now the question is, how will that inform what we do with math instruction at the K-12 level? So I forwarded some of that information on Mr. Tracy and Mr. Twitchell. And then I attended the Chinborough workshop, where they let us know that there were around 450,000 unfilled skilled construction positions nationwide. And they talked about the training programs that they have within their company, which is so impressive. And they're available to come to schools, career days, and to extend their programs. So if we contact them and we can figure out a time, again, they're available.
Thank you. Mark?
I went to the same math one that Judy went to, so it was terrific. I also went to the keynote speaker did a set talking about poverty. I thought it was very interesting, along with all of the trauma-based stuff that we've done. Although they overlap, they're also
her point of view, and also the different levels of what poverty might be, if it's just a sudden poverty for a short period of time.
Is that Donna Beagle?
Yes. And, or if it's, you know, perpetual, there were three, I can't remember what the middle one was, but perpetual poverty where all parents are, you know, unable to read and generations, and I'm not sure, I can't remember what the second one was.
Situational, generational.
Situational would be, you know, temporary, if someone lost a job for a period of time, you're facing poverty, but you also have the skills probably to work your way out of that situation. But I thought it was very interesting. I also went to one about interest-based negotiations, which is really what we've done in negotiations. I found it helpful, but similar to what I've experienced in the past. And then talking also about science standards, like we have been talking about math standards and the importance of learning. That teachers are saying, I don't like science. You know, K-5 teachers especially aren't, because they have to teach such an overall view of, overall thing, education, that some really don't like math and some really don't like science and only want to teach certain things and try to get over that stigma of, and try to have everybody feel comfortable with what they're teaching. I love going to the conference. I think it's good. The keynote speaker is usually always terrific.
Questions, comments? Thank you. And item number 5, citizens' comment on agenda items. Currently, the Article 7 for school board roll call, school board policy, BEDA/KD, and the public comment is limited to no more than 30 minutes of total length. All comments must relate to the business being conducted by RSU 74, stated meeting on the current agenda. Tonight, we have 10 people to share that 30-minute time frame. You ready? Debbie Tewksbury, you're first on the list.
Try to keep it short and sweet. Longtime resident, my name is Deb Tewksbury. My son is Hunter Tewksbury. He's a sophomore at the high school. He's been playing baseball for 10 years, which equates to a lot of time, effort, and car mileage on my part to get him to these 4 years in high school. I oppose the disbanding of the Bridgeway Bandits. He sat here 3 years ago and was actually on the other side. I didn't want to combine with the other school. I don't know if I'm the only one that has a son that actually played on the Bridgeway Bandits this year, but Hunter enjoyed it. He loved his team, he loved the coaching, and he actually liked winning a couple of games. So I guess I had some questions that I wanted to ask the board. I don't know if the board is prepared to vote on this, and if you can speak to some of the questions I have about budget. If we go on our own, what happens if we have declining numbers and Madison no longer wants to combine with us, then what happens then? I'm under the impression that if we disband from Madison, Madison is not going to take us back. So they're not going to wait for us to make a decision on what we want to do. Do we have the budget to go on our own? I mean, we can't even afford transportation for our teams to get where they need to go. Statistically, are our numbers declining? I think these are questions that I'd like answered. I oppose going to a JV schedule. I have a son that's in his sophomore year that wants to play in college and can't do that if we're playing a JV schedule. Basically, if we go to an all JV schedule, my son won't be playing. Thank you.
Thank you. Dory Dunham?
I'm here. I'm Dory Dunham. I live in New Portland. I teach second grade at Garrett's Bank. And I'm actually all set. Thank
Okay.
you.
Somebody else gets it for a minute.
Yeah, I can.
That's what I was going to say. I also am going to pass, so if my time can be passed to someone else, I would prefer that.
Dr. Hill?
like to comment on the agenda item, but I can't let you start discussing the agenda item.
This is the public comment now.
What's that?
This is the public comment time now.
Doug, you can comment
Go ahead,
on
Doug.
it now.
Comment on it now. Yeah, same piece.
I don't know what's going to be discussed as far as baseball is concerned.
You may speak to that issue, sir.
I don't know what's going to be discussed as far as baseball is concerned, but I feel if we have enough to field a team here, this is where it should be. Every time I come to this board meeting, Madison always comes up when it comes to sports. We don't have enough to field a team. We field the soccer, we field the tennis that we weren't supposed to. And I just think we ought to have baseball back here too.
Thank you. Carrie?
Thank you, sir. Eric Carey, Emden, Maine. When it comes to collaboration, emotions get involved. When emotions get, Doug will tell you that. When emotions get involved, often facts get pushed aside. This has happened often in the past. I was at a board meeting where it was clearly stated that the Madison girls tennis team only had 2 players. And it was going to be a tragedy that they weren't going to be able to play this year. And I went to 2 of their matches and they had 10. So we were clearly misinformed, misled actually. I was recently at a board meeting here at the high school, and it was said that the Carebeck girls soccer team would not have enough to field the team this year. No way was the words that were used. Not only did they field the team, they won a playoff game and had 14 girls on a very successful team. I only say this because I think we have to be cautious about the numbers and things that we're going to hear tonight, okay? Because sometimes we get the emotions become in play, not facts. It is a fact, so I'm going to try hard to keep my emotions out of it. It is a fact that participation in extracurricular activities is beneficial to students. That is a fact. We see higher grades, better attendance, better conduct. We see more social growth. We see increase in problem-solving skills. And we see better connections with an adult in their life. To piggyback off what one of the conferences you guys went to. Coaches play that role for a lot of students. It is absolutely a fact that students are more likely to participate in an extracurricular activity when it is based at your school. This holds true if we're talking about soccer, football, drama, math team, or baseball. I'd like to share some facts that prove that that's a fact. In 2012, Carebeck High School had 13% of its boys participating in baseball. In 2013, we had 18%. In 2014, we had 15.5%. In 2015, we had 12.5%. In 2016, we had 13% of our boys in this school participating in high school baseball. In 2017, Carebeck and Madison formed the Bandits. We saw our baseball participation drop immediately to 5.8%. That first year the Bandits worked together. The previous 5 years had been an average of 14.4%. The very next year, it dropped to 5.8%, and then the second year of the Bandits, it dropped to 5%. So that's considerably less kids reaping the benefits of extracurricular activities, whether we're talking about better grades, better attendance, better conduct, and having an adult in their life that is an inspiration to them. And before we brush this off as a trend with current population, the softball during that same period held steady, hovering around 17 to 19%, always here at Carebeck. Many will be quick to argue, but what about competitiveness? I'm going to keep my emotions out of this. If we're going to talk about competitiveness, we truly don't understand what high school sports is about. But if we want to talk that way, we will. So let's talk about Carebeck's records before joining with Madison. For the last 3 years, we were 9-9, 7-8, and 7-9 here at Carebeck High School with 2 appearances in the playoffs and a playoff win. I'd say that's competitive, but again, I don't value the competitiveness as much as some of us do. When it comes to participating when the sport is held at another school, the same can be said in other sports. Track is a perfect example. In 2018, we combined track with Madison. And not because of numbers. We sent them there because we couldn't find a coach. So we had no choice but to send them there. We had 5 kids go to Madison to play track. Last year, luckily, Mrs. Richard was able to find a coach, and the number went to 15 participating. 5 the previous year when we had to travel, 15 when we stayed home and had the team here at Carabec. 4 years ago, the middle school team combined for 1 year. We had the numbers the following year. We had a group of parents and a group of students show up, many are here tonight, and said, we want our own baseball team. Luckily, the board voted to let us have a baseball team, and for the past 3 years we've had, and the numbers have been very steady. And peaking this last year with 17 just 7th and 8th graders. 17 just 7th and 8th graders. Those are factual numbers. Once again, we might be quick to say, yes, we had a lot of players, but were they competitive? We shouldn't be asking whether or not we were competitive. We should be asking whether or not we were successful. And we can measure success a lot of ways. I think it has to do with personal growth and team growth. But if we want to talk competitiveness, this last year's team went 10-2 with wins over Lawrence, Winslow, Waterville, Messalonskee, Madison. These are all schools considerably bigger than us. So yes, we were competitive, but again, I don't think it comes down to that. From the very beginning, collaboration with this board has always been, if we have the numbers, we'll bring it back here at Carabec. I've heard the board make that statement before. We have the numbers, but I'm not opposed to collaboration. As a matter of fact, baseball has built-in collaboration. It has for 50 years. It's called Cal Ripken, Babe Ruth, and Legion, where all the towns get to put their best players. The best players from Carabec, the best players from Madison, the best players from Skowhegan get to come together and form a Legion team representing Somerset County, or forming a Babe Ruth team representing District 5. One last fact, if baseball is offered here at Carabec this spring, there will be significantly more students playing baseball than there were the last three years. Thank you.
That's really tough act to follow. I'm a little different in that I'm not a big, huge fan of this collaboration myself. But this year at Carabec High School, we didn't have the numbers for golf team. And we had a single golf person at Carabec High School, and that one individual was not allowed to play with Madison. I reached out to Madison, was told it was Carabec's fault. I reached out to people at Carabec who blamed Madison. And I just think it's a little sad that Carabec High School didn't back the one wonderful golf player that they had this year, who actually went to states. And yes, she may be my daughter, but I'm damn proud of her, and no one except Mr. Richards backed her. So for that, I thank you, and I kind of want to say shame on the rest of us adults. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's me.
Jennifer?
Yeah. You have that there. So my name is Jen. I have a senior who has been playing for the Bridgeway Bandits for the last 3 years. He also played for Madison when they had to collaborate with the junior high because there wasn't enough players. I think, so my biggest issue that I'm having with both the boards and the community members is that why are we looking at Madison and Carabec? You're hurting the kids because you're putting a division between these two. Why is it important that you guys have your school and you're not putting the kids' thoughts first? My son, just like Mr. Tewksbury, won't be playing if you guys separate. The junior high JV teams, the JV teams, they only play 4 innings. Are we going to be able to play the full innings, full game? Are they going to be able to have a competition? Because when we are playing for high school, a lot of schools don't have JV teams because we are a small school. So with being a small school, we're playing other small schools, and these small schools have enough to field just a varsity team. So what happens when we're playing 3 games a year? What happens if we're only playing 4 innings and then the kids get to leave? That's not a participation, that's not it's not competitive, but it's not beneficial for the children, for these kids. You know, some of them do, like some of them do want to go on to college. And I'm sure Mr. Carey's son would love to go to college. He's gonna play ball in college. I've seen the kid play. He's amazing at any sport that he touches. So let's give them the opportunity to play together as one team, as one, and they're not Madison. That's the other thing. We're not playing for Madison. They created a team with their own mascot, with their own name, with their own colors, specifically so that we are not Madison kids and we are not Caravan kids. They are the Bridgeway Bandits. That's who they are. That's what they want to be. And it's so disheartening to have the one senior who, and I understand numbers are great now, but my kid has been the one 5th grader, the one 6th grader, the one 7th grader, the one 8th grader, the one 9th grader, all the way up. So now he's the one senior for both districts that won't be able to play his senior year, or he was not willing to play his senior year because he doesn't want to play the 4 innings when he's been playing all his life, all of these games. He's not going to be able to play a full season because there's not a full season of JV. There just isn't. I highly oppose separating them, and I think they should stay together as one. I think it's wonderful to see the camaraderie, to see these boys in the community come together and hug each other after football games, hug each other, see them at baseball games, their basketball games, and they're playing against each other community, competitively, and they come together as one because they are the Bridgeway Bandits. They are a team, and they are better than how we are thinking of things as adults. That's how I feel.
Thank you. Dylan Lee?
He's good.
Heather?
Hi, I'm Heather Earl from Portland. I'm going to be quick because I know Mr. Newton is going to cover most of what I want to say anyway. I appreciate everything everybody said here tonight, but the fact is 3 years ago when I sat on this board, we made an emotional decision, and you can deny that all you want. We had children paraded in front of us crying because they didn't want to play for a certain team. My son's that age now, and my son has never played with any other children than Madison. So making this decision tonight is the exact same decision you refused to make 3 years ago. You're tearing apart a program. And you didn't want to do that 3 years ago. But now people want to do that because they have a personal agenda.
Thank you, Heather. Leanne?
Hi, I'm Leanne Newton from Anson. I would respectfully request that you consider voting keeping the baseball team as a combined team, as Bridgeway Bandits. There are a lot of unanswered questions, including funding, student participation, and the impact this decision will have on younger grades. The numbers in Anson and Madison continue to dwindle. I know there is always hope that more students will participate, but realistically, for the past few years, in my son's class, specifically last year, there were 8 Anson boys in the 6th grade that played baseball. They have been the same kids for several years. I think we have to be realistic and realize there isn't going to be a great influx of kids into the RSU 74. I believe there was a study done when looking into possible school closures that the number of kids in the district continues to decrease. I understand that one argument made is that you don't need many kids for baseball, only 9 on the field. But there are other factors that need to be considered, some of which are injuries, pitch counts, dropouts, illnesses, and grades. Some younger players will decide not to play before they are seniors because of various reasons, needed a job, family issues, etc. There needs to be a deeper bench to allow for these concerns. This is not just an Anson concern, it's all across Maine as well as nationally. I understand that this is a lot of what ifs, but it already happens in the lower grades. At one point during one game last season, we had one extra player during the game, and that one player had to sub on the other team because they didn't have enough players to field the team. I am hoping that you will take time to look beyond just the current year and look at the future of the program and continue to build the current program, not only for high school, but for all grades. Lastly, my biggest concern is the impact this will have on the younger students, including my son. Should you vote to separate from Madison, and I don't think this is a green and blue issue, it shouldn't be. I have been told it is very likely that Anson will not be allowed to play in the Madison-Calverton League. My son has played with Anson-Madison kids for several years and enjoys playing with all the kids from both schools. It is important to note that we have barely had enough of two teams when combined with Madison in the 5th and 6th grade. I think a decision to separate and disband Bridgeway Bandit is not looking at the whole picture, including but not limited to the dwindling numbers on both sides of the river, and how that decision will affect the baseball program for the entire district, not just the high school.
Thank you. Anybody else who hasn't spoken, like to speak 3 minutes? None. And item number 6, to see if the board will approve the creation of a Fairbanks only high school baseball team. Do I have that motion? So moved. All right, is that second? Okay. Discussion. Made the motion, Troy, you go first.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This started 4 years ago. We did combine the junior high. It did not go super. Parents came to us 3 years ago, stated that they would like to have their own team here, and there was a lot of talk that there wouldn't be enough kids to sustain it for those years. That would be the freshmen's 6th, 7th, and 8th grade year. That has proven wrong. These are facts. There were 17, as Mr. Carey stated, on the 7th and 8th grade team this year. Not taking into account any high school kids that would play. I do believe that we lose kids. The numbers do show that. If you don't have your own team at your own school, you do have less participation. I feel that we should do that. And we need to remember the MPA, you cannot combine teams to be more competitive, number one. And number two, you cannot combine teams to save money. You combine teams when there's not enough kids or to give more kids an opportunity. Soccer and football is the best example of a collaboration. We don't offer football, they don't offer soccer. That is the best collaboration you can have. So I urge that we do bring baseball back to Carabel. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I feel if there's more participation, it's better academically for the kids and keeps them out of trouble. We always talk about that, more participation helps with academics.
Follow up to both of those. I think that you're under the assumption, for some reason, that if we stick with the combined team, that we're going to lose numbers. But if we have a Careback only, we're not. But you just had two parents, one of a senior, tell you that if you don't keep the Bridgeway team, that they will not be playing. So that argument is pretty much invalid, because you're going to lose numbers whichever way you decide to do this. And I understand that the MPA isn't allowed, you're not allowed to have a collaborative team based on competitiveness, opportunities. If you have a JV and a varsity Bridgeway Bandit team, how is that not more opportunities for kids? You have two teams instead of one. Playing time inevitably will be increased. for everybody, the JV and the varsity. I don't think that we did a good job at the JV level, which I've stated many times, with the Bridgeway team. I think that we need to build on the JV team within the Bridgeway. Saturday games, full games, not just 4 innings. I fully believe that. But I don't think that you rip apart a program that will create and is creating more opportunities for kids with more playing time for a single influx of higher numbers. Yes, the freshman class this year has a high number of baseball players, but and these are facts, every team under them for numbers is low. We don't have enough to sustain a Carrabeck-only team other than with our freshman boys. Those are facts. Those are numbers from rec. Those are numbers from the middle school. Julie is, I'm sure, going to speak to a lot of this, but anyway, I'm done for now.
To touch on what Mr. Carey said about facts, I found it interesting on the years of baseball that you chose to pick, because actually my son was the leading pitcher on those teams, and Troy did coach, and Book was the catcher. And you may have had maybe 17 players, but you also had a bookkeeper playing. We were pulling people out of the woodworks. People were running out of the cleats and doing somersaults that had never been up there. You had to get them off the bases. Kids were playing double duty. So some of those numbers are very deceiving when you do that. I found it a little odd, though you didn't look at the records before those years, because they weren't very good either. So maybe we should have looked at all of those records when we were going to state facts. And I can state that because my son was the pitcher, so I will clearly state that. I will also say that my son has played on multiple combined teams. I'm looking at a young man that I know played for football for Madison and stood out very well. And I hear these young men here, they're not complaining that they're not getting playing time. They're not complaining that it's not competitive. They're not complaining that it's not working. They're not complaining that they're not wearing green and white. They're not wearing blue and white. They're wearing gray and black. That's what they're doing. I actually watched this young man as a freshman start on a varsity team because he's one hell of an athlete. I'm going to tell you that. And I watched him a few years ago, very upset about it. But I am very, very proud of you to be standing up for what you feel is going to get you further in the future. And another fact that we didn't state, maybe the records weren't the best, but I do believe Dustin Crawford was named Mr. Baseball because he played on that combined team. And if he was on a Carrabeck-only team, he would have struggled. And I wish he could have been here tonight because he would tell you that. He was that competitive young man. He wanted to go play in college, and he got the recognition because he was on that team. I'm not saying that Carrabeck can't have a competitive team. I'm just saying if it's not broke, you don't fix it. When I hear, oh, we have the numbers, I'm telling you, you don't have the numbers below. We're looking at 1 grade. Okay, I am your rec director for the town. I know how many kids sign up every year.
More than one town.
I know how many kids sign up every year. Right now, when you look at these, for your 7th and 8th graders, 7 through 8, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 kids at the little level. Okay, that's it. That's not enough to field a team on my own. On your 12 and under, I'm going to have, because these guys are all going to go to the junior high team, so I'm going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 kids. Black and white. These are facts. This is who's signing up. So when you're making this decision, you're not only making it for the high school team, these kids here are not going to be in these leagues because they won't be able to have 2 teams. So when you tear this apart, you're tearing apart the rec. And we all know, Leanne, I'm sure you'll bring your kid to Skowhegan, but there's many parents that cannot afford to transport the kid to Skowhegan to go play. So when we're talking about building a program and you have maybe 4 or 5 of these kids that can't afford to be transported every night for baseball practice, you just lost them. And then you're hoping they come back at the junior high level without the experience, without knowing how to play baseball at that age level.
I do not understand why we're looking at this when we say we have the numbers, you don't have the numbers below, and you don't have the numbers in the upper, so you really don't have the numbers. You have one influx of a class. You do not rip apart a program for one class. You do not do it.
What happens if you don't have the numbers? Yeah.
Well, if we don't have the numbers, you're not going back.
Tammy, see, this is where we can't engage the public.
Well, I can make a statement.
Other towns in the district.
I mean, I really wasn't talking about it.
I had a couple questions about, I didn't know that by separating the two teams that we were automatically becoming JV. Is that what is going to happen? Could someone answer that question?
That's what we were told.
We need an answer.
Is it a JV schedule?
That was what was in the email that was sent out.
I'm just trying to get facts.
Ms. Richard, there was a question.
Here, sorry.
Question again.
If we separate and have a Careback-only baseball team, are we only playing JV schedule, or will we be a varsity team with a varsity schedule?
Either, depends upon the wishes of the program here, decisions here. My suggestion that we would look at a varsity team so that we could include some of the older athletes. You're required to have a 12-game schedule. You can have as many as 16-game schedule. The league, because of the terrible spring we had last year, most of the league is moving to a 14-game schedule to get the rest of them in. But it's still possible for you to have an abbreviated 12-game schedule if you wanted. And then it would still be a varsity component, and you can still get that schedule within the Mountain Valley Conference.
Okay, so it's not too late to sign up for a varsity schedule for
Correct.
our district if that's what we want. I know there's time frames and there's stuff, that's more. I am disappointed with both, that was my only question about facts. I'm disappointed with both sides of staying together or separating, that if you don't get your way, if I don't get my way, I'm not going to play. I had a son who was an athlete who didn't care what he played or what color his shirt was. He just wanted to play because he loved baseball, he loved football, he loved soccer, he loved it all. It's very disappointing that our public, or that our community is just feeling that if we don't have it at Careback, we're not going to play. If we don't have it in Madison, if we have it in Madison, we're not going to play, vice versa. I find it very disappointing and very sad that that's what our community and our, decision is coming down to.
I want kids to play sports, get physical activity. I want them all to be able to participate. And for many of these sports, we need to have more numbers than we have in these towns. That's about the opportunity. We're also supposed to be looking at what's good for children, not what's green or blue or white or fuchsia. I don't know. We've got some young people who've been playing for a team, and they are now being told that they may not be able to play for that. And since they've already made this commitment, I'm concerned about that. I want, if you have, these numbers in our schools are small, they're not going to get bigger in a long time, and for a sport like baseball, you need numbers. You have to have 9 people on the field, and those pitchers can't pitch all the time. Then they get sick, and there other things happen. You have to have the opportunity for that. It seems to me that the way to increase opportunity is for all of these is to have combined teams, to make them rigorously combined, not a Madison team or a Careback team, but an opportunity to play. When my kids were in school, they played all the time, whatever they could do, every single semester. And I had a daughter who was a 4-time NCAA All-American. And it started because Warren Bound and Bob Agopian started a summer track program that in this area had close to 100 kids on it. They didn't care whether kids were from Bingham or Anson or Emden or Dexter or whatever. They all played together. They developed some really good skills. We need to be encouraging all kids to play. We need to be able to help them to continue to be able to thrive as they have started something. And those young men who've been contributing to this team for a while, I don't think it's really kind to them to have the rug pulled out underneath them. And they need to be on teams in which they can develop their skills as they go forward. You combine them all. If you've got enough to have a first-year team, a JV team, and a varsity team, great. Make use of that. And I think that there will be benefits all around as long as we can think of it as this being for our students. I don't see any really good reasons for not doing this. Even the numbers that you're suggesting, I was looking at the numbers of people in the high school right now, and I'm doing a rough thing because we don't have male and female, but it says it's a total of 178 students at the secondary level. And I'll just roughly, I don't know what the numbers are, male, female, that's about 90 students, you know, male and female, more or less. And if you look at your percentage, about, 13%, you'd only have barely 11 people. And that's one varsity team, and some of them are not going to be nearly as skilled as and you need more if you're going to have these big teams. And I want there to be a team for the golfers and a team for the cross-country runners, because that does help to engage them. And they get to connect with other students and with other of their coaches and many adults, and they get more turnout to support them. So I think that given the difficulties with population size, the demographics here, it is in the best interest to try to find a strong, positive way to have combined teams. And I don't want us to have to spend a whole lot of time all the time talking about sports.
I know that you can't combine for money, but we're already combined. So it's already a program that we voted on. So you can say that we do not have the money in our budget to reformulate a Careback-only baseball team. We're talking about closing schools to have a more sustainable budget. So I'm not sure where you can pull money from to reestablish a Careback-only baseball team. So that should be addressed in the questions that the two parents in the audience had as far as budget and finance. Solon was with us, and so was New Portland. So yes, there's more towns in our district, but last year the 12U, the two teams that we barely could field a team for with no subs included Solon and New Portland and Emden and Anson. So that's every single town in our district. So that encompasses everybody. Kids saying that they don't want to play varsity if it's a combined team, like a varsity for varsity team is one thing, but when you have varsity level kids who have played on a Bridgeway varsity team and you're telling them that they are going to play JV, and I'll get to that in a minute because I will publicly say what was stated in the collaboration meeting was that there was not enough players to field a varsity team for Careback only based on the skill level. That all of the players that we have, which is 11 or 12, Julie would know better, were not varsity level. And safety comes into play there. Injuries comes into play. So that is where the JV only came from. That is exactly what was stated, was that we needed to look at JV only for at least a year, and probably 2. Facts.
I was at that meeting also, and that was stated, and I've actually heard Troy state more than once that we need to just have a JV program. Because the kids are young, and let's build it like we used to did, and I can agree when we did it back when John and Levi did it, it was not good. But you've said that more than once, so when we're out here talking to these people, and why they're wondering why there was a JV program, because it's been talked about for for a while. We're not just pulling this out of the air, it's been stated more than once. So you wonder why these young men that are doing this don't want to be on just a JV program. It came right from this board. I've sat in multiple meetings when it's been discussed. So that's why it's out to the public. And I don't know if we're gonna now try to pull a varsity program off with a bunch of freshmen, which is not doing them any favors, I guess, because you better be looking at your pitch counts and stuff. So I'm not sure why we would want to be setting those young men up that want just this Carrabeck only team at a varsity level at that point. I don't know why we would do that.
Making a motion to move the question.
The second. All in favor of moving the question?
You put your hand up if you're voting to move the question.
Vote. Motion carried to move the question. The motion before us is to approve the creation of the Carrabeck Only High School baseball team. A vote of yes is to create the team, a vote of no is to keep it as Bridgeway Bandits. All in favor of creating the Carrabeck Only High School ball team, raise your hand.
Sorry.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Wait, can we get the names, please? I want the names of everybody that voted in favor and everybody that voted against. No, I think we should do it now.
Four people that voted no, just raise your hand.
So I have a question. Not that motion. I want to know how we're funding it. I want to know if it's JV or varsity. Mrs. Richards, our athletic director, should be able to address that. And if she can't, I want to know what the next step is on where these parents will know what's going to happen in the spring with their kids. Is it going to be JV? Is it going to be varsity? Right, when are we going to get ready? That's what I want to know.
I know.
I brought my own. I know too, about that. Nobody wants to talk about
We're back in order at 7:48. Item number 7. Let's get the board to approve the hire of Ed Tech 1 and Garrett Skank. Tracy.
Good evening, folks. Thank you.
Wait a minute. Need a motion?
Oh.
Yeah, someone.
Yep. Okay, Mr. Tracy.
All right, thank you. As most folks know, I get out across the district pretty often, and my visits to kindergarten at Garrett Skank have seemed tumultuous at best. And I just have so much respect for our all of our teachers, but especially the kindergarten. My goodness, they are brave men and women. So, with that said, there are some needs. Garrett Skank in the kindergarten room, we've brought in a sub pretty much daily down there to support that. And I've talked this over with Ms. Butler, and we believe that we need to hire, and we've done this before, a one-year Ed Tech 1 for Garrett Skank in the kindergarten. I don't know if you have anything to add, Chief?
It's just, when it's helpful, and the teacher would have a hard time. And she's made tremendous progress with the help of a second person, so. A lot of these kids coming in with no background in preschool or anything, and just with behavioral and academic needs, it's really helpful to have another person.
Questions, comments, discussion?
Motion first. Should have a motion first.
We did.
Have discussion. Oh, you got it?
No, we did.
I can't hear very well.
Oh.
Sorry. Good.
Yeah,
I was sleeping. George.
Okay, any other questions, comments, discussion?
How are we paying the warrants?
This is not a budgeted item, so we would be either running a staff line over. I don't think we're going to. And we did put a little money in the substitute line last year, anticipating we may need some of this. So I'm confident we have the funds.
Anybody else? Objection, unanimous, considered approved. Motion carries. Agenda item number 8, the board approved the yearly estimated government overnight field trip on November 8th through the 10th. Do I have that motion moved? Aaron? Mr. Tracy?
It's a yearly trip. It's to Langley Big Skins. It's funded through the YMCA. They go through mock legislation. Some of our board members have had sons and daughters go to it. It's a great opportunity. They're due to leave Friday morning. They come back on Sunday. And it's a great opportunity for the kids to get a better understanding of how the government actually works. They write bills and they go wrong and things like that.
Questions? Discussion or comment? Objection, unanimous, considered approved. Motion carries. Have fun. Okay, to see if the board will approve the updated policy BCA, JFCA, and DBH/PD for policy subcommittee recommendations. I have that motion. Aaron? Okay. First one we'll look at is the policy.
That's the one where we've already taken one out.
That's okay, JJIC.
So that's not included in it. Right, okay, that's right back.
So on policy BCA, I looked at it, and others looked at it, we've got 4 corrections. On A, B, and C, the word will needs to come out. It's already up there at the top, and it don't make sense. Principle E, the word refers should be singular, refer against on. And then on the flip side, on M, in the second sentence, it should read as and as members. A member needs to be changed to the total member. Second line, which is and as a member, and as a member of. Anything else in the BCA? I didn't see anything on JFCA, or anything on BDH/KD, and I'll see anything with those.
On the student dress code, the second line down, parents, double
Yes, outside the parentheses.
And on the bottom, do we really capitalize RSU 74 school administrators or teachers? Teachers also should capitalize?
Teachers, no, teachers should be small.
The administrators, you got that one specific one, right?
Anybody see anything else?
I have a question about content. Who makes the decision? Who is the person that decides if those are inappropriate or appropriate? So what happens
I do
if we
not.
have...
My school social worker, Miss Alicia Bedard, handles anything around the ladies, around dress code. I explicitly do not. I want to put that for the record. If it's a young man and maybe he wore a weekend T-shirt, forgot and brought it to school, like Budweiser or something like that, that's me. If it is inappropriate like that, it's Mr.
I also get support.
Okay. I just, we were discussing, I was reading it at home,
Yep, that's not
if
me.
your position, if Sister Mary Agnes, let's say, replaced you.
Leave room for the Holy Spirit.
Who, the differences in clothing choices might be.
Clothing has changed a lot since I was in high school.
In regard to that,
Yes, I'm all done.
in regard to that, if you look at your handbooks, there needs to be some upgrading of them that might be consistent with this and consistent with the changes in dress that are now. I don't think you're going to be able to say that they can't wear spandex. But there's all sorts of things that can go on. And I think that as you look at those, that can happen. But I think this is trying to work out.
Any other discussion?
I would just like to reference the three policies in general. They've all been vetted by our school attorneys and/or our MSMA template. Dress code one is an MSMA template. The Board of Member Code of Ethics has been vetted by our attorneys. And the last BEDH/KG, it's important to note the nuance that's changed in this policy in accordance with the new law. Number one, we are going to allow public participation on any school business. So any business on or off the agenda relating to the school, business of the school district can be heard at this level. But something that we're going to be enforcing, doesn't mean I or Mr. Demchak are being mean, it's really improper, it's out of order for us as a board, for you as a board to engage the public during, before, or after public comment. The business to be conducted by the school board of directors is your business. The public may comment on that, and then you may not engage the public. And it may take a little practice for that, but that is that's the change in this policy. We will reflect that if it's approved tonight, not only in board policy, but it will be reflected on the agenda. That will be allowing open public comment, same conduct standards, 30 minutes, appropriately done in order at the discretion of the board chair within that 30 minutes, as we did tonight. And that also the school committee will not be responding to public comment.
Any questions on the discussion? Okay, so the motion before us is to approve all the updated policies, BCA, JSCA, EDH, KDH, for policy set for direction basis with edits. Unanimous, to approve. All three pass. Discussion items, to see if the board will discuss enrollment class size. I have the motion. Aaron? Tracy?
All right. Typically each year, in November, I give you an enrollment update. Tonight is a little more official because I have had a couple of requests from the enrollment numbers or class sizes at our high school. So I wanted to get you all that information in one place. So if you look at this document that I handed out when you came in this morning, earlier today, folks, and people will have to share these, but basically, in short, the first page gives you the high school class size report for the high school this fall. What you have a running list down the side. I did not identify the teachers, but T1 is a teacher, T2 is a teacher. Those are all representative of the 15 or 16 teachers in high school. Then we have across the top, across the top we have periods. So your period, P1W is period 1 white day, period 1 green day, period 2 white day, and so forth. So each color is representative of a period at the school, in the school. And then we know that because there are white days and green days, sometimes there's a different class. So you'll notice that teacher number 1 is teaching English 2, has 16 students in that class. That's on both the same class. That's covered on a white and green day. Everybody following that? So that gives you a sense of the number of students in those classes.
These are very small class sizes on the whole. It's a really small class load of teachers. And yet we still have sort of this minimal opportunities in terms of courses that are available to students. So it makes the concerns we've had about collaboration, about doing things, about working with other schools, how do we really provide students with robust opportunities for learning with the numbers that we have. I mean, I look at these, I'm more concerned about this than I am about closing in school. I'm more concerned about how we offer sufficient programming to students. German 3 and 4, there are 4 students, and we're dealing with different levels in there. It's still amazing. I'm just concerned about these numbers and where they're going to go, what that means for how we develop the school and the opportunities, and I'm concerned about what I'm seeing here with the reports that I'm getting about test scores.
Yeah, if I may respond to that. I don't want to conflate or confuse test scores with class sizes. I think there's probably evidence on both sides of the research that would support smaller class sizes having our ability to affect greater test scores for students. So, I mean, is there a correlation or not a correlation? I'm not sure I can make a statement either way. But I think, and it came up a year or two ago when we were having budget discussions, or it was maybe a year-end presentation from Mr. Richards, who was talking about the year we had to reduce a couple of AP classes, and that was a couple of board members. And so I think what is clear in front of us is that we're cusping. I would call us a cuspy district. What I mean by that is we're on the cusp of being able to offer these things, scholastic course catalog for our high school students, and maintain that with some sense of equity in what we have to offer students, with the notion of the reduction of the size of the high school. So can we operate like this for a few more years? I think we can. But do we need to be thinking about how we can bring in other programming and thinking outside the box on how we do some programming? I know in that breath we do offer to Madison students and some back and forth. In other words, if we have a class, or if they have a class that we don't offer, and it fits in one of our students' days, maybe they're a junior and a senior, or a senior, they could go over to Madison, and/or we've had a couple of Madison students.
Not so many this year.
Okay. But in the last few years, we have had that experience. So we are seeking those partnerships. We are. So it's really it's not something I'm going to have a to-do list to do with. Outside of just exposing you to the real numbers here tonight.
What are the numbers for Caribbean White and Madison
This year?
classes, and either way?
Either way.
Any idea of the reasoning?
kids are uncomfortable, we go to the other school.
Okay.
Last year, we had 2 young ladies from Madison came over every day for APs.
Okay. Have we talked about collaborating in the sense that the teacher would travel? Our kids would stay in-house. The teacher would be here 2 or 3 periods a day and 2 or 3 periods a day. And I ask that because under other performing arts and chorus, is that the 3 periods that teacher teaches every day?
Yes.
Okay,
Well,
so
I
we
mean,
hired,
She goes to CCS to teach, of course.
teaching.
okay.
Yeah.
Elementary, what?
I'm sorry?
What is she teaching at the elementary?
Music class.
Okay, so, but I thought we needed an elementary music teacher.
Yeah, Mr. Gilbert's position, the band position, is gone.
So what we've done is we hired a performing arts teacher that we would have liked to have offered a few more high school classes for or with, but we've been utilizing that person to make up for the loss of a teacher. That person has the capability to also teach music, so we've been using them
Okay,
in some of the elementary classrooms.
so given that there's only 17 students that she's reaching at the
Part
high
of the problem was, we didn't have her in the course offerings when we had signups last year,
Right.
because we didn't know if the position was going to stay in the budget all the way through. And when the budget passed, then we started trying to get kids in and schedules and.
So I'm just curious why we're actively still looking for a music teacher if it's being offered by this teacher that we already employ.
It's not covering all of it.
What is she not covering?
Wait, excuse me, what is she covering, Tom?
She has, and she's in CCS, Jean doesn't have a music teacher over there, she has a substitute currently.
We've had a
I don't want to speak for Jean, but.
Okay, so Solon and Garrett's Bank do not offer music right now.
We are-
Except for by a sub. Okay.
And Miss Dale, she teaches 1st and 2nd grade music and chorus.
Okay.
And then the sub does kindergarten, 3rd, 4th, and 5th.
Yeah, we're stretched thin.
So this other teacher does have a full day?
Yes.
The KBC, are those online classes or are those?
Those are classes taught here by teachers, our teachers.
So they're taught here?
Yes.
So none of those are online?
No. Anything else on that page?
Yeah, I guess the intro to wood and metal. There's only one.
In that one class, yeah.
Find that.
It's not ideal. Kids have a hard time fitting it into their schedule. The kids who have the shop classes are very happy with it. It's just scheduling it was a problem.
Oh, yeah, I'm all for
Yeah.
the shop class.
Yeah.
I just when I see one.
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah.
And that would be every other day though, correct?
Yes.
It's not one every day, it would be every other day, correct?
Yeah, so on the opposite day, he has 4.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, the next page is our total enrollment as of October 1st. And as everybody knows, that we get our funding based on the prior 2 years' October 1st enrollment. And so I think it's important to note, if we look at the sum total of 623 students, we're down approximately 14 students over last year. Yeah, and we have approximately, or I'm saying approximately because as of October 1st, some of these numbers have fluctuated. 186 students in the high school. And last year we had 200.
So the 14 that we're down is strictly from
No, we've lost most of our students from high school. I think we're down maybe a student or two in Solon. Garrett Skanks pretty steady. And may actually have one or two more at, a few more at CCS. But yes, we've lost most of our students from high school.
Any other questions on that page?
Well, and when we lose them, then we know.
Some go to the moving, some go to Cornville. One or two, families move, so they end up going to a different school district. We actually picked up 2 students this week.
And for informational purposes, my understanding is the charter school from Cornville area is running a bus.
Yeah, actually.
Yeah,
It's the entire district.
Yeah.
So that's just information.
May I ask you a question, Brad?
Okay, well, so the low number here is the 9th grade. So like it's 33. So we got fewer 9th grade students in this.
That was a small
Is
9th
that
grade
because
class
of
to
the
begin
past?
with.
So it's because, so the 8th grade class had been.
Yeah, I want to say it was 36 or 38, somewhere in there.
So we don't know whether they went someplace else or just because they were just carried over to a small class carrying.
I had a small 8th grade last year.
Excuse me?
I had a small 8th grade.
Yeah,
class
okay,
last year.
yeah, so that's what that is, but
39 last year.
it's 39.
39 last year.
At 8th grade level?
Yes.
39 is, we lost 6 of those, so we don't, so they've gone either to.
Some have gone to charter school.
Yeah, how does charter school funding work now?
So they're direct funded from the state. Funding does not flow through the district anymore. We just do-
Anyway, we don't get state
Correct.
subsidy and then have to.
No, we don't get the subsidy on the students. It just doesn't come to us.
So we lose the subsidy for those that go off to the charter.
Technically, yes, sir.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
This
Is that included in your next page? Excuse me for jumping. The next page where we do tuition in out, it has nothing to do with it, but more.
We don't tuition, no, that has nothing to do with tuition.
Or superintendent.
No, it has nothing to do with superintendent agreement either.
I'd be electing something.
Those students are just electing out.
Okay.
And the charter schools take them because charter schools have statewide enrollment. So anybody can choice anyone.
The funding, the subsidy follows the child though for superintendent's agreements out. We lose the funding for that.
I realize that. That's an issue, that's something that in my town.
That's a
The town that I
large,
represent
it's a large number.
is a problem for it.
There's a large number there.
Anything else?
So the last page, I would just refer you to homeschool numbers, superintendent agreement, in and out, tuition in and out numbers. Down slightly with homeschool, pretty steady with superintendent agreements in, down 1 for superintendent agreement outs. Tuition out, fortunate we don't, tuition any out. And that's typically high school. And so then we have 15 students with tuitioned in this past year.
And when you say tuition out, what do you?
It would mean if we had a student in one of our 4 towns that we paid to go to a different high school. So currently we have like Highland Plantation, Athens, Copeland, Highland, Carrolltown, thank you. So we have a few students that come from those choice towns into Carribeck High School.
Any other questions on that page? Any other questions on this report? Okay, agenda item number 10A. This is the board will enter executive session during RSA Title 1, Chapter 13, Subchapter 1, Paragraph 4, 5, 6A. Consideration of the voting evaluation